Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Corto arte. Have you read anything yet? Today we're going to talk about books, but not regular books, artists' books. Let's discover together what is special about this type of books. Artists have always been connected to books as illustrators. In fact, since medieval times, artists have accompanied words with drawings. We can see examples in illuminated manuscripts, or the version of the classic text Metamorphoses by Ovid with etching by Picasso, or Dante's Divina Commedia illustrated by Salvador Dalí. Also, Alexander Calder, who we talked about in our last video, illustrated Aesop fables with his line drawings of animals. Some artists have also acted as authors by producing their own books, such as Gauguin's Noa Noa, a sort of traveling journal of his first trip to Tahiti, or Matisse's Jazz, which includes his writings and drawings. Artists' books as artworks, though, are a completely different thing. They can take unusual, even strange forms. They might be unreadable, or simply be just a collection of pictures. Some artists like to use traditional mediums or use experimental techniques. Some others use computer-generated or enhanced pictures. Artists' books can be tiny or enormous and include all sorts of materials too. First artists' books were produced during the first years of the 1900s, when artists from the avant-garde produced little books and booklets to share their ideas. However, it was during the 1950s and 60s that artists' books became popular. Let's have a look at some artists who worked with books. Bruno Munari was an Italian artist and designer who was active in different artistic genres such as Italian Futurism and also in avant-garde movements of the 20th century. Since the beginning of his career, Munari had always been interested in the process of producing books. In fact, he wrote several books which are clear examples of his artistic style and designing process, such as Drawing a Tree, Speak Italian, or Designer's Art. Of course, these are related to the general idea of a book, one that you can read. However, the Italian artist is also known for his unreadable books. Artist books that are not meant to be read, but are transformed in a geometrical game to engage the reader with the pages. His white and red unreadable quadrant, for example, is made of 40 sheets of red and white card of different shapes and sizes. The pages are folded onto each other to create triangles which present the viewer with new combinations on every page. American artist Ed Ruscha used the idea of the artist book to take art and photography outside of the museum environment. Ruscha has always been interested in words and phrases, especially those taken from advertisement and pop culture. In fact, his artworks are mainly created by collages of these elements. His approach to the artist books, however, is the complete opposite. Ruscha's famous series of photography books, in fact, don't have any word except in the title, which is a basic description of what the book is about. The first and most famous book of the series is his 1963 work entitled 26 Gasoline Stations, which literally contains 26 photos of 26 different gasoline stations taken during a road trip on the iconic American highway Route 66. Ruscha decided to print an expensive copy of this book in order to distribute them in the gasoline stations that feature in the book. The idea was to create an affordable and widely distributed edition to bring art to a wider audience. Dieter Roth is a Swiss-German artist who is very famous for his artist books and artwork that mix unusual materials together. Roth always had an interest in the object book, in its shape, features, and production process. Its most famous artist book is probably Little Tentative Recipe, dated 1969. This is a miniature book which fits in a small box meant for collecting tea bags. The book contains 800 offset colored prints made by Watford School of Art students, following Roth's recipe. Certainly unusual is Roth's series called Literature Sausage. These are artist books which are exactly what the title suggests. A sausage made in accordance with a traditional recipe, calling for ingredients such as salt, garlic and fennel, but using a minced printed publication instead of meat. An experiment which suggests to the viewer new ways in which information could be ingest and digest. Now that we looked at some example of artist books, shall we try and create one of our own? You will need some paper, this can be of any kind and color, glue, string, any art medium you would like to experiment with, and scrap paper. Let's start by creating our book. You can make it in different ways. I'm creating a concertina book which can be used on both sides and open flat, creating a long, unique drawing. As I want my book to have more pages, I'm sticking it to another piece of paper to extend it. Another way to make a book is to fold several sheets together and tie them with a string. Now it is time to experiment with material. You can decide to give your book a theme or simply follow your mood. I suggest you fill 1 or 2 pages every day and use it as a sort of experimentation journal. I'm working on 2 pages of my book with you. If you want, you can also add different pieces of paper to extend the pages of your book, or create pockets to hide secret things. This was my artist book. Let's have a look at Claudio's. He created a small book dedicated to our past videos of In Corto d'Arte. Another episode of In Corto d'Arte has come to an end. Don't forget that you can support us by clicking on the like button and by subscribing to this channel. We are also on social media where you can share your artworks with us. We will see you for our next episode of In Corto d'Arte. In the meanwhile, try to read books with a different eye. Bye!